Hey! Long time no talk. I know I did promise a whole series of videos ages ago, and I'm only now doing the first one. So, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the sirens just went off, and because of course it did. I just started recording. Anyway, so the first video that I wanted to update, perhaps revisit, is, of course, White Man's March. This was originally recorded on March 17th, 2014, so it's over 5 years old now. And in it, I essentially address what I thought to be an extraordinarily stupid phenomenon, which was White Man's March. I can't remember which state it was in, and I don't have a link to it in my video because, of course, I don't. Receipt? What receipt? But I do remember it being a big deal, and I do also remember barely anybody going, and how it basically the entire event was a laughing stock. Here, I'll just play a clip just to. Now, that I remember voicing aloud and thinking, nobody is going to give a shit about this. Nobody is going to see it as the warning as that it should be. Nobody is going to see it as the red flag or the white flag that I had hoped, because my channel is so small. I don't even have I don't even have 200 subscribers, and at that time I hadn't even cracked 100. So when I made this video, I had no idea that it would become relevant over 5 years later. And I'm going to play a little bit more because I'm actually quite shocked about how prescient I was in this video. Because if you compare it to how things are right now, how the social influx is going, you'll kind of understand why I'm revisiting this video today. So let's just play a little bit more of my young self. What I mean by that, what I meant by that was that it was this party was so obsessed with of their race having such racial purity, and yet only men were allowed to go to the march. Only men were allowed. So they were not only excluding everybody else who wasn't purebred white, but they were also excluding half of their own people. And that was another thing that got my attention, was that not only was it racist, but it was also like completely and utterly anti-feminist even to its own women. And as one of those, like, as what they would consider to be a white woman, I would be excluded, even though I am technically purebred white. And again, this is still so prescient now, and I'm just pissed off that I said this shit 5 years ago, and it's still relevant. And I had thought that I needed to make a whole bunch of corrections to this video. But the more I listen to it, the more I realize this is a video that is still relevant, and I'm just pissed off by it. So just a bit more. White racism 5 years ago wasn't as common, I guess would be the proper word I get for it. It wasn't as excusable. It wasn't really a thing. In 2014, there were the states had a black president. In 2014, we were still here in Canada. It was still Trudeau. Like in 2014, a lot of stuff was different, and it was I know this is a cliche saying, but it was a different time. But it really was, because I actually got shit for protesting this. I got told that I was a white genicist, right? And back then it was just so asinine, but now people take these things seriously. People take, you are a white racist, you are for white genocide, you must breed within your race, you must keep the race going. Back 5 years ago, as little as 5 years ago, was seen as so indescribably probably asinine, is now seen as a serious threat by the current president of the United States. And I think what's most important about this video too is that it not only wasn't taken seriously, it wasn't watched, but it's still relevant because if anything now, there are worse marches going. There are open neo-Nazi marches going. There are like anti-immigration, anti-Muslim, anti-all this and all that. And when I first started in the atheist community, there was a lot of anti-Muslim stuff, and I regret to admit that I was a part of it. I didn't understand. I was ignorant. I was in my mid-20s. My life had changed from a catastrophic illness that had just turned my life completely upside down, and I had no other outlet except for this stupid atheism thing. And that was one of the things, I was arting today, you can kind of tell. But that's one of the things that made me leave, was the fact that, yeah, the racism and the white supremacy started getting more and more prevalent in the skeptic community. And it was only just starting to then, and because people kept ignoring like warnings like this, and I'm not trying to be arrogant and saying, oh, I was the only one that saw it. I'm not the only one that saw it. I'm one of like maybe 5 people who saw it as the threat that it was and how it should have been taken seriously when it wasn't, even though not a lot of people came. The point is that every year after that, it started increasing. And back then, I didn't really get why. I didn't understand why white men who are apparently on top of the world, who have every single fucking thing they want, could possibly feel marginalized by the society that has basically worshipped them from the start of their creation. And I watched a video, I think it was by Sean, to be quite honest, was somebody who mentioned that he was on that side at one point, and he understood where it came from, and he put it in perspective for me. Right now, society is going against white straight men for these reasons, for good reasons, I honestly feel. The power needs to end now. It needs to shift. And I don't care how many thumbs downs I get for this entire thing. We can't trust white people in power anymore. Look at what they're doing. And, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Back then, things were simpler. And what pissed me off is that now we are in a world where that kind of behavior is acceptable. And 5 years ago, I never thought such a thing could ever happen. I thought we were going to have like a woman. I thought we were going to have a woman of color in at least as president in America. But no, and sorry, that's not what it was. Why white men and white boys are gravitating towards white supremacy. Apologies. I'm on a bit of medication. I'm on pod, okay? So sometimes my brain gets potty. So why men and boys are turning to white supremacy and being all like against the society, like the actual beneficial society that raised them to be this way, is because they are seen as the enemy now. They are seen as what they are. And I know that's kind of unfair, and I know I'm being incredibly general, but you know what? Shit's been unfair for people like me, for the entirety of this white supremacist rule. So I'm tired of it. And I cannot imagine how people who aren't white feel. Like my own husband he's very gentle. He doesn't say these things, but I know he's fucking sick of it. Like I remember the night that Trump got elected, we just hugged and cried. Like, well, I cried because I was scared. And so white men and white boys are attracted to these things because they are seen as the enemies. So we are basically creating our own monsters. And in a way, I get it, and it has to stop. But in another way, it's like, what did you expect after creating a society that worships the straight white man? What did you expect? That people would start to see it for what it was and start to want to fight back and you call it out for what it is. And I'm sorry that it alienates a lot of people, like a lot of decent people. But at the same time, if you were alienated by your own clique, your own group, then doesn't that make you an ally now because you are not part of them anymore? There are better things in life than propagating some myth that a skin tone is purer than than other skin tones. I don't think it's fair that people who have currently rolled the genetic lottery should rule over people who have no control over that. And so there's that. So there's a bit more here that I want to address. What I just mentioned. Shit like this makes white guilt happen. Cheesy joke. That shit is still relevant today. And I want to say why. Because assholes in my own country, yes, I'm talking about Lauren Southern, assholes in my own country who are white women, before she left with her tail between her legs of media, bitches and fuckers and assholes like her would use their supposed being attacked and completely miss the point and propagate it even further. So people who say things like there's no fucking white culture, there's no white supremacy, there's no rape culture. People who say this have not experienced it. And in many ways, good. I don't want people to experience that kind of violence. I want people to be happy, okay? That's my demonic confession that I want for the world. I want the world to be, I want everyone to be happy. And I know how impossible that is, but I do. And so I don't wish for people to have to experience these things in order to have empathy and sympathy for them. But that is exactly what is happening. And instead, they're taking that inexperience and turning it into a victimhood all on its own. Woe is me for not knowing what this means. Like, still going on. Who says that in 2014? Who says that in 2014? Who says that in 2019? We are talking about people like, what's her name? Roaming Millennial, Lauren Southern, Jacqueline Glenn, all of these women who, and Lacey Green, who got green pilled. Green pill. Did I say green pilled? I meant red pilled. Green pilled would be my pill that I would give to previously red pilled people, because green is an awesome color. Green represents environmentalism, and I'm a green witch. So yeah, fine, green. But all these women who have been red pilled, who don't understand, who are seeing that their time for power is ending. The white supremacist time, we're getting sick of it. We're tired of it. We're calling it out for what it is, and we're fighting back. So these people are trying to propagate themselves as victims. Who does that? What person does that in 2014? What person still does that in 2019? Our skeptic community does that. I used to be a really huge proponent in the skeptic community, whereas I would sometimes be viewed as an annoying pest. I was around in so much. Okay? I remember with the whole forbidden fruit thing. I remember with the whole skeptic feminist thing. I remember with the Nadia Chambers thing. I was there for all of that, and I had to leave because I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand the racist, misogynistic hypocrisy that was running rampant in that community, and that is still running rampant today. You want to talk about why skepticism is being viewed as like a clown car as opposed to like evangelicalism? Is because of the hypocrisy that people like the women I mentioned, but also like Shoe on Head and Armored Skeptic and all these assholes. Atheism is unstoppable. These fucking people who hide behind little goddamn cutesy avatars because they're too wussy to actually show gonads and show your own faces to your own opinion. What, you're afraid of losing your job? Maybe you shouldn't have that job if it's going to lose it for having your own opinions. Like, who did 5 years ago? I was this pissed off. 9 years, like 5 years have changed nothing. It has changed nothing. And that's what pisses me off the most. That's why I'm angry that this video is still relevant, that I don't have to correct that much in this video from 5 years ago. Like, I don't understand why it's a surprise anymore. And I'm not going to finish this video. I've only made it into 2 minutes, and I've had enough because we're almost at 16 minutes. Well, we're going to hit 16 minutes, and nothing is going to make a difference. We all know what that video says. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to actually rewatch it again. But as far as I'm concerned, absolutely nothing has changed, and that is something that this community should be ashamed of. And I still say that I'm part of the skeptic community because even though I do come out as a witch. It is a non-secular, like, I worship nature. I worship nature and like cycles of seasons and just the circle of life and stuff like that, and being kind to everybody. I'm an empath, and like this is what I live for, and this is why I get angry, and this is why I hate being disabled, because I can't do shit. I can only do armchair activism, and I know people make fun of that, but it's all I have. So this is what I'm doing. And to know that in 5 years, I made a video that basically predicted the future. It shames me. It really embarrasses me because the last thing I would want would be to admit that nothing has changed in 5 years. Things have gotten worse in 5 years, and I never thought that would happen. And such a thing like a white man's march back then is seen as something so juvenile and idiotic and just so out there. And now we have the President of the United States defending these people, especially the President of the United States. You guys, you fucking idiots who voted for him, wanted to impeach a president prior for getting blowjobs in the Oval Office, and yet you don't give two fucks about a child, like a serial rapist, a child rapist, an assaulter, wants to fuck his daughter. You don't, and like, you're always talking about like how Obama was. I remember one time there was this huge thing where Obama gave like some kind of medal of whatever to Ellen DeGeneres, who was an entertainer. And there was this one meme that I saw that said, President of the United States gave entertainer a Medal of Courage. Current President of the United States gave medal to veteran. That president, the one who was giving it to the veteran, is a fucking entertainer, you fucking gerbils. Like, are you kidding me? And no, I don't mean the gerbil and the racist tone. Sorry. I'm fucking shrews. You hired a fucking consumerist. You hired like somebody who wants to buy the world and sell it to himself. Like, you did this to yourselves, except for the people who didn't vote for him. And now that you who are voting for him are pissy, you have nothing. You have no right. You belong with those pathetic men 5 years ago, dragging along their goddamn banners and flags, bitching about how they're the marginalized people, all while they walk on the necks and faces of the people who are actually giving them, unwillingly, that power that they take for granted and that they claim they don't have. People like Jacqueline Glenn, Roaming Millennial, Armored Skeptic, Shoe on Head, fucking Laura Southern, you can all fucking kiss my ass and lick my clit, because that is all you deserve for perpetuating this nonsense bullshit society for 5 years and in making this society the way it is now. You are responsible for the decay and the disgusting morphing this society, of this community. It is not a community anymore. It's a fucking cage fight, and it's your fault. Fuck you. That's all. Bye.